British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good morning. I'm Babak Roshandelli, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow. Here are your 11 a.m. sports headlines. We start with the NHL playoffs, as the only two games on the schedule Sunday saw Canadian teams take to the ice. Unfortunately, Both the Winnipeg Jets and the Toronto Maple Leafs shared the same result, a loss. The Jets had their series shipped to Dallas for Game 3, where they were beaten 5-2 by the Stars. It was another difficult night away from home for goalie Connor Hellebuck, who allowed 5 goals on 26 shots. For the Stars, Mikko Rantanen continued his red-hot scoring pace with a goal and 2 assists to take his overall tally to 18 points in 10 playoff games. Game 4 is scheduled for tomorrow at 5 p.m. The other matchup saw the Florida Panthers even up their series against the Leafs at 2 apiece with a dominant 2-0 victory. Panthers goalie Sergei Bobrovsky was back to his best, making 23 saves for the shutout. At the other end, it seems as if the Leafs will have to persist with backup goalie Joseph Woll, as regular starter Anthony Stolarz appears unlikely to return to the series. Both teams will have a 2-day break, with the series moving back to Toronto for Game 5 on Wednesday. The Edmonton Oilers are the only other Canadian team in action tonight. They host the Vegas Golden Knights in a pivotal Game 4 matchup. Stuart Skinner will get his second straight start in net as Calvin Pickard remains sidelined. Puck drop is scheduled for 6:30. Over to soccer now, where the Vancouver Whitecaps continued their strong start to the season with a 2-2 draw against LAFC. A record MLS attendance of over 22,000 watched the Whitecaps come back from a 2-goal deficit on Sunday thanks to a brace from talisman Brian White. The forward is tied for the league lead in goals with 8, despite having only appeared in 9 matches. The draw keeps the Caps at the top of the league standings, with the team playing their next game on Saturday as they visit Austin FC. To the MLB next, as the Toronto Blue Jays have finally swept a series in Seattle. The Jays won all 3 games over the weekend at T-Mobile Park, something they haven't done against the Mariners in over 30 years. The Jays got some overdue support from their hitters and scored 21 runs in the 3 games. They finished the West Coast road trip with a 4-2 record and improved to 500 on the year as they sit on 20 wins and 20 losses. Next up for the Jays is a series against the Tampa Bay Rays, which starts tomorrow in Toronto. Back to the ice now with the IHF Hockey Championship well and truly underway. Team Canada has iced a strong lineup, with Sidney Crosby, Nathan MacKinnon, and Marc-Andre Fleury accepting the call. The Canadians took on Team Latvia yesterday, coming out on top with a resounding 7-1 victory. Team Canada's next game will be tomorrow, as they will be taking on France. Staying on the ice, as history was made in the PWHL last night. The Montreal Victoire won the second game of their series against the Ottawa Charge to tie things up at 1. What made this game so unique was the fact that it went to a 4th overtime period before it was ultimately decided by Catherine Dubois. That means the players played 2 full games with another 15 minutes on top of that. Hopefully both teams can get enough rest before picking things up for Game 3 tomorrow. Over to the hardwood now, with Canadian star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stepping up big for his team once again. Alexander had 25 points and 6 assists as his Oklahoma City Thunder defeated Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. The series is now tied at 2, with the all-important 5th game scheduled for tomorrow at 6:30. Elsewhere in the league, Pascal Siakam scored 21 points as the Indiana Pacers took a commanding 3-1 lead in their series against the Cleveland Cavaliers with a 129-109 victory. Over to tennis action and the Italian Open now. Canadian Bianca Andreescu is currently taking part in her round of 16 matchup against Qinwen Zheng. Andreescu defeated Elena Rybakina in the previous round yesterday. Leylah Fernandez also played yesterday, but was defeated in straight sets to Marta Kostyuk. And finishing off now with local baseball, the Vancouver Canadians were involved in a thrilling game against the Spokane Indians over the weekend, ultimately falling 4-3 in 10 innings. The team will look to get back to winning ways against the Everett Aqua Sox, a series which gets underway tomorrow. Thanks for listening. I'm Bobak Roshandelli. This is BCIT The Crow.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
It's called The Roaring Game. The sliding of a granite rock down pebbled ice creates a sound akin to the roaring of a crowd. A favorite Canadian pastime, this game has been played on frozen lakes and in community centers for generations. it also has the uncanny power to bring people together, and a Vancouver-based league has been doing just that since 1983. Join Riley Cunningham and get swept down the ice at the Vancouver Curling Club on the last day of the Pacific Rim Curling League's season.
I think the weight's good.
I'm Philip. I have been in the league for, more than 10 years, less than 15 years. I don't know, the years blend together.
After a long 8 months, the Pacific Rim Curling League season is coming to an end. It's a bittersweet day for many of the members who are playing their last games until September. For them, it's a ritual. Coming to the Vancouver Curling Club every Sunday, meeting up with your team, and playing a few ends in friendly competition. Founded in 1983, the PRCL declares themselves as Vancouver's 2S LGBTQIA+ curling league. Many would argue they're more than just that. They're a pillar of the queer community in Vancouver.
I've always found curling to actually be a really safe space for queer people, not just here in Vancouver, not just in Canada, but worldwide. Like if you look at the final of the men's worlds that's happening right now, the skip of Scotland is an out gay man, right? Bruce Mowat.
Yeah, sweep, guys, sweep. Hard. Hard.
If I follow that, it's going to whip
all the way, guys, all the way. It's going to be good.
It's a great league, and it's really taken off over the past 10 years since I joined. I mean, we've always been a rather large league, but now it's, I think, into the 50s of teams.
Knockout? Can we take it from the other side? Yeah. Okay, tight on the line. Oh, sweep the whole way.
With over 55 teams, 220 members, and 28 subs, the league has become not just the biggest queer curling league in Vancouver, but the biggest curling league in Vancouver, period.
Keep it going, guys. You're there. Almost there, almost there, almost there. Okay, that's good. Good sweeping.
So there's several hundred people that are coming every Sunday or Monday night. All different levels, beginners, advanced, and yeah, it's just been a great way to kind of have some fun, but also play some competitive curling from September till April.
Oh, it's gonna curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep going, go, go, go.
No.
Oh. Nice try.
Randall Noble has been curling with the league for 35 years. His team, Team Noble, won their division this year, but that's not what's important to him. The friends he's made throughout the years mean more to him than any win.
Friendships that you built, whether it be in or outside of the rink, the camaraderie is definitely the number one thing. Whether it be in Vancouver, in our city, in our club, or across the country, or in the United States as well.
With rising political tensions both at home and across the southern border, building strong communities is more important than ever. Queer folks have long relied on their chosen families for support through hard times, and the PRCL has been a landing spot for queer kinship for over 40 years.
I think most of us are aware of what's happening in the world, and we're clearly not okay with it, but one of the only things you can keep doing is genuinely being yourself and being visible. And I think having such a successful league like the PRCL, which I think is the biggest curling league in Vancouver, if not the country, to have the queer curling league being the biggest also says something.
Shoot, we're going to advance and let it go. And go. Get it to knock ours in a little bit. Okay. Held off just a titch. Yeah. Woo!
It's clear to any outsiders that the PRCL is the hottest club in the city, and even though they maintain a wait list, the chances of getting in anytime soon are next to none. The league does more than just curling, though. They're in the annual Vancouver Pride Parade, they participate in advocacy, and they have a legacy fund that donates to charities around the city.
A little more. Oh, we're spinning that way. Yeah. We gotta get it. Curl. Sweep, ready, Cam?
Oh boy, there's a lot of yellows there. There's a lot of yellows sitting around there. Let's try to put another one in the pocket here. I think so.
Anywhere.
Like anywhere in here. Yeah. So I think I was giving you about this much ice or so. All right.
After 4 decades, there is no sign that the PRCL is slowing down. With a devoted board of governors and a president returning for his 13th consecutive year, the league is as strong a community as ever.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, that opens it up.
I feel like we have 2 skips.
Yeah, they have hammer and that's got back guard, so we're in oopsie land.
With open arms and an unquenchable thirst for victory, the members of the Pacific Rim Curling League will graciously welcome you, if you can make it past their waitlist. All you need to join is a good attitude and the ability to doubtlessly be yourself.
Yeah, we just needed more weight on that sucker. More pizzazz.
For BCIT's The Crow, I'm Riley Cunningham with my co-producers Nate Elms and Jonah Jung.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
It's not 11:30 yet, though, is it? Welcome back. This is your host, Eden Chipperfield. Oh.
I'm so sorry.
The British Columbia Institute of Technology.
Welcome back. This is your host, Eden Chipperfield, reporting your news headlines at 11:30. In breaking news, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has announced her government is freezing the industrial carbon price effective immediately at $95 per ton of emissions. Smith claims the move is to keep the industry competitive as well as defend Canadian jobs as the tariff fight with the United States continues. Smith says the decision will also provide economic relief and certainty to sectors including oil, gas, electricity, and manufacturing. The price has been expected to rise to $110 per ton in 2026, with an increase to $170 per ton by 2030. The freeze is indefinite. With summer approaching BC with the promise of heat and dry weather, wildfires are a top priority for local firefighters. Our reporter Avia Boulay spoke to Port Coquitlam firefighter about the increase in risk.
Port Coquitlam Fire is bracing for the summer heat and the rise of the wildfire risk. According to BC government, in 2023, BC saw over 2,000 different fires across the province. 26% of those fires have been caused by human error. The risk of wildfire is not only a concern for remote communities. Wildfires are a growing worry for communities living near forests. These wildland-urban interface communities are concerned about mixing forestry and human flammable materials nearby. Firefighters across the province are ensuring a priority of safety amongst the community, especially during the hot summer months. Ava Boulay, BCIT News.
The National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, Cindy Woodhouse-Nepaniak, says the statements around Alberta's separation from Canada are irresponsible to make without consulting First Nations. Premier of Alberta Danielle Smith has introduced a bill to make referendum launches easier for Alberta, including a split from Canada. Chief Nepiak says that any effort for the province to separate is an affront to the sacred treaties that predate the province itself and undermine the foundation of Canada. The chief is calling for a federal review of the transfer agreements for natural resources due to the referendum talk. A recount is occurring in Terra Nova, a rural riding in Newfoundland, which was automatically triggered due to the winning margin being less than 1,000th of a valid votes cast. In an email statement from Elections Canada, they say it may take a day or two to determine whether Liberal Anthony Germain did in fact beat Conservative Jonathan Rao. The Liberal Party now holds 170 seats in the House of Commons, 2 seats shy of a Liberal majority government. In news from our neighbours to the south, President Donald Trump announced in the Oval Office that the savings collected from slashing the cost of prescription drugs will go towards funding a missile defense system called the Golden Dome.
Your cost for Medicaid and Medicare and just basically pharmaceuticals and drugs is going down at a level that nobody has ever seen before. It'll pay for the Golden Dome. I see the Golden Dome is there, see? That'll easily pay for the Golden Dome.
Carla Hayden, a longtime White House librarian, has been replaced by Donald Trump's one-time defense attorney, General Todd Blanche. Hayden was fired last week after facing criticism from conservatives claiming she was pushing a woke agenda. Blanche is a former federal prosecutor who assisted Trump as part of his defense team during his New York hush money trial, where the president was convicted of 34 felony counts. The head of the U.S. Copyright Office, Shira Perlmutter, was also terminated by email. This was after Perlmutter's office released a detailed report concerning copyright materials and the usage of artificial intelligence, which may have influenced her termination. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Ron Chernow is turning his writing towards American writer Mark Twain. Chernow has written various detailed biographies on enduring American figures, including Alexander Hamilton and Ulysses S. Grant. This is expected to be over a 1,000-page word biography that readers can expect to listen to. In Burnaby, it is currently sunny with clouds at 13 degrees with a high of 17 around 5 p.m. For BCIT's The Crow, I'm Eden Chipperfield, and those have been your news headlines at 11:30. Join Gabe Liesi at 11:40 for your sports updates. Stay gold.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
I'm Caleb Templeton, and these are your sports headlines for 1140. We start off in hockey as 2 games took place across the NHL playoffs last night. The Florida Panthers defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-0 to even up the series 2-2. Canadian forward Sam Bennett scored his 5th goal of the playoffs in the victory. Game 5 of the series will take place in Toronto on Wednesday. Continuing in hockey, the Dallas Stars defeated the Winnipeg Jets by a score of 5-2 last night. The game-winning goal came from Canadian Alexander Petrovich. With the victory, Dallas now takes a 2-1 series lead over the number 1 seed Winnipeg Jets. The series will continue in Dallas for Game 4 of the best-of-7 series. Now in local sports, the Vancouver Whitecaps tied the Los Angeles Football Club 2-2 last night in Vancouver. After being down 2-0 before the 20th minute, Vancouver rallied back by getting 2 goals from American forward Brian White. With the 2-goal performance, White is now tied with 4 other players for the MLS League lead in goals. Vancouver now has a record of 8-1-3, but after the tie still remain atop the MLS standings. Continuing in local sports, the Vancouver Canadians lost to the Spokane Indians by a score of 4-3. The Canadians now have a record of 15-18 after the loss. Vancouver's next game takes place in Everett as they take on the Aqua Sox. Now off to basketball, where the NBA had 2 playoff games take place yesterday. The Oklahoma City Thunder defeated the Denver Nuggets by a score of 92-87 to even up the series 2-2. NBA MVP frontrunner and Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the Thunder in scoring with 25 points. Game 5 will be in Oklahoma City as the Thunder host the Nuggets. Continuing in basketball, the Indiana Pacers defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers 129-109 last night. Cavaliers All-Star guard Donovan Mitchell is set to have an MRI on the ankle he injured during the loss. With the loss, the Cavaliers are now on the verge of being eliminated from the playoffs as the Pacers take the 3-1 series lead. The number 1 seed Cavaliers will host the number 4 seed Pacers in Cleveland on Tuesday. Now in baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays defeated the Seattle Mariners by a score of 9-1 last night. The win resulted in Toronto sweeping Seattle in their 3-game West Coast road trip. Toronto is now at an even record of 20-20 and sitting 3rd place in the American League East Division. Toronto will now head home and host their in-division rival Tampa Bay Rays in a 3-game series. Also in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies beat the Cleveland Guardians 3-0. The Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Arizona Diamondbacks 8-1, and the New York Mets beat the Chicago Cubs 6-2. The Phillies, Dodgers, and Mets are currently the top 3 teams in the MLB standings. Now to football. The NFL announced the first game that will take place to kick off the 2025 NFL season. The Philadelphia Eagles will host their arch-rival Dallas Cowboys to open up the campaign, continuing the NFL's tradition of having the Super Bowl winning team host the opening week game. Philadelphia are the reigning Super Bowl champions, whereas Dallas is coming off a disappointing 7-10 season, resulting in them missing the playoffs. Continuing in soccer, the Brazilian national team has announced their new head coach signing. Brazil is signing Italian head coach Carlo Ancelotti to a 1-year deal just before the team takes part in the 2026 Men's World Cup. The signing of the 65-year-old coach from Italy results in the first ever Brazilian head coach being a foreign-born coach. Ancelotti was formerly the head coach of Real Madrid. Those were your sports headlines for 1140. Come back again at 2:45 for more sports updates. I'm your host, Caleb Templeton, and thank you for listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
According to World Population Review, Vancouver is one of the 10 most multicultural cities in the world. Chinatown, the Punjabi markets, and various ways of life can be found all across downtown. One community, though, has been struggling to find its place in the city for over 50 years since city planners destroyed their primary neighborhood. Reporter Aiden Singh has the insight.
I'm Aiden. Nice to meet you guys. I wanted to ask you, do you know about the historical importance of the land that we're currently on, like this strip of area right here?
I'm afraid I have no idea.
I've never heard that before in my life.
I don't think so.
No idea? No.
I understand that it was a black neighborhood that got displaced.
I'm not sure it
Not
does.
entirely, no.
I
Why don't you
think that-
educate us?
Isn't Jimi Hendrix got a little thing because he lived here with his mom at some point or something like that?
Unfortunately, most Vancouverites can relate to this lack of knowledge about the history of the area. Hogan's Alley was the local name for Parks Alley, an ethnically diverse area located between Union and Pryor Streets that has been referred to as both the first and last Vancouver neighborhood with a concentrated black community. If you've ever walked the Strathcona area in Vancouver, like these individuals, you almost certainly wouldn't know about it today. That's because in 1970, the neighborhood was all but bulldozed for the Georgia viaducts, which were a part of a larger freeway that was never completed.
Well, I would say the general public is still coming into awareness of the history. As you say, most people are not aware that there's a Hogan's Alley and what that community was or where it was. Or when it was.
That's Siobhan Barker, Director of Community Care for the area, and one of the first volunteers at the Hogan's Alley Society, a nonprofit committed to daylighting the history of Hogan's Alley and the presence of the historical black community in Vancouver. We got the opportunity to talk to the Executive Director of the Society, Shaka Blay.
I first learned about Hogan's Alley, it was back in 2016 or 2017. And I was in Vancouver for work and the opportunity to listen to a presentation by a community member about Hogan's Alley. That really piqued my interest because, I wasn't really aware of this kind of historical black community that had been here in Vancouver.
Blay, along with other black community leaders, have set out not only to bring light to this history, but to also bring awareness of the fact that the black housing crisis is still being affected by that history to this day.
There's a few kind of data points. So one of them is that in the last 2 point-in-time homeless counts that were done, 6% of respondents identified as black, although we represent 1.2% of the population.
Unfortunately, the history of city planning progressively eliminating underprivileged multicultural communities is far but exclusive to Vancouver.
Hogan's Alley is one area in the Canadian landscape where this kind of forced displacement intentionally meant to support economic growth that did not serve the community. If you look at Africville in Nova Scotia, prior to outright strong-arming individuals to sell their homes for pittance, they stopped doing service of water, electricity. So you're living in an area where your basic needs are not being supported. Right? With Hogan's Alley, garbage collection stopped.
The Hogan's Alley Society is attacking this epidemic through establishing a community land trust with the City of Vancouver.
We have a few goals around them. So the first one is developing spaces for the black community, in particular affordable housing and other social infrastructure. So we have our Hogan's Alley Community Land Trust, and it goes across Metro Vancouver. And within that, we're looking to acquire different properties and develop housing and other spaces for the Black community.
The process of creating these affordable living spaces is a monotonous one, as the system that has been established for city planning is just like most programs in a capitalist society, almost exclusively concerned about the bottom line.
I mean, there's definitely been improvements over the years, and at the end of the day, you have great people doing like good work, but they're operating within a system, right? And so if we're not looking at making sure that we're applying like a lens of making sure that we're providing housing that will meet the needs of breadth of people in our community, and then we're going to continue to perpetuate the same problems. I think there's improvements, but like there's still work to be done.
That work takes time, lots of it. The Hogan's Alley Society has been running for nearly a decade now, and only a fraction of the work that needs to be done has been completed. Being told to be patient as a Black community member is something that they are tired of hearing about.
Yeah, I think it can be very exhausting and tiring, and I think if you talk to Black people, the common narrative that I hear often, especially since the movement for Black Lives, is like people are just tired. You're fighting it on so many fronts, and you don't necessarily. Sometimes you don't even know that that's what's happening, right? Like that the microaggressions that you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis in your workplace, at school, with people in the street, going into the store, that you're constantly having to fight to be recognized, to be acknowledged, and in some cases to be recognized as a human being that's worthy.
The Black community has longed for a place of belonging within the city for decades. The Hogan's Alley Society's guiding principle is to create that environment for the Black community, not unlike other multicultural areas in Vancouver.
We want to have buildings and spaces that people can actually go to, and that people will, that it'll be a destination that will attract people. So the same way that Chinatown, people will travel to come to Chinatown because they know that they can find the foods, the products, that they want. They can hear their languages. They can be connecting with some of their community. I think I would add that having a thriving Black community in Vancouver is beneficial for everyone. It's not just about Black community members doing well. It's an opportunity for the rest of the Vancouver and surrounding community to tap into ingenuity and creativity and resourcefulness of Black and Caribbean cultures, and really to see new developments in different ways, and to see different representation of what success, happiness, community can look like.
For BCIT's The Crow, I'm Aiden Singh with co-producers Elijah Ford and Thomas Adams.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up.
Port Coquitlam Fire is bracing for the summer heat and the rise of the wildfire risk. According to BC government, in 2023, BC saw over 2,000 different fires across the province. 26% of those fires have been caused by human error. The risk of wildfire is not only a concern for remote communities. Wildfires are a growing worry for communities living near forests. These wildland-urban interface communities are concerned about mixing forestry and human flammable materials nearby. Firefighters across the province are ensuring a priority of safety amongst the community, especially during the hot summer months. Ava Boulay, BCIT News.
The National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations says talks of secession in Alberta are irresponsible. Aaron Sousa with the Canadian Press has more.
Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak says it's not smart for politicians to talk about separation without first consulting First Nations. This after Alberta's Premier introduced a bill that would make it easier for Albertans to launch referendums, including one on leaving Canada. Woodhouse-Nepenak says any effort by Alberta to split the country would be unconstitutional and a direct affront to sacred treaties. The AFN is calling for a federal review of natural resources transfer agreements in response to the referendum talk. Aaron Sousa, the Canadian Press.
Stats Canada released data today showing more Canadians are choosing to stay at home instead of traveling to the U.S. Jason Wide with the Canadian Press has the details.
Statistics Canada says preliminary figures for April show automobile trips fell year over year by more than 35%. Return trips by air fell by nearly 20%. Canadians began boycotting U.S. travel because of American tariffs and U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated 51st state comments about annexing Canada. StatCan says April also saw overall international arrivals fall year over year by 15%. Jason White, The Canadian Press.
U.S. President Donald Trump has been defending his plan to accept a luxury Boeing 747 jumbo jet, said to be worth nearly $400 million, as a gift from the ruling family of Qatar.
I mean, I could be a stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane.
Critics say the president should reconsider the gift based on the ruling family's ties to known terrorist organizations. Trump has called the plane a gift and a very public, transparent transaction. A new study concludes Ontario hospitals spent more than $9 billion on nurses and other staff from for-profit agencies in a 10-year period. In a question period today, Health Minister Sylvia Jones says she has no plan to ban staffing agencies.
We know that staffing agencies are a tool used primarily in rural and northern hospitals to avoid service disruptions. In fact, it is a tool that they have been using for decades.
Sub-agencies charge double or even triple the staff nursing rate, leading to increased costs. BC Premier David Eby is set to make an announcement today at 12:15 regarding strengthening BC's economy. This comes less than a week after Trump's announcement for Trump's tariffs on movies made outside of the U.S. Film and TV industry generates billions of dollars every year for BC's economy. More on this to come at 3 p.m. I'm Nate Elms, BCIT News.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon. Gabe Liesi here again for your sports headlines to 12:10 p.m. We are just under 4 hours from puck drop in Game 4 of the second round series between the Washington Capitals and Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes took Game 3 on Saturday afternoon thanks to a 21-save shutout from Frederik Andersen. Andrei Svechnikov scored his 6th goal of the 2025 playoffs. 24 saves from Capitals goalie Logan Thompson was not enough for Washington. The Capitals only managed 10 shots in the last 2 periods on Saturday. The Capitals will be looking for a bounce-back performance to avoid having to go down 3-1. Carolina is hoping for a stranglehold before the series heads back to D.C. Game 4 tonight is scheduled for 4 p.m. Pacific at PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. The Edmonton Oilers are looking to bounce back in Game 4 tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights. Edmonton leads the series 2-1 but was edged by the Knights 4-3 in Game 3 on Saturday night at Rogers Place. Vegas forward Riley Smith scored the game winner with 0.4 of a second left in the third period after his shot redirected in off the stick of Oiler Leon Draisaitl. It is the third latest game-winning regulation goal in NHL playoff history. Oilers defenseman Darnell Nurse is a fan of the way his team has been playing.
We're up 2-1. We're in a great spot here in the series, so we have been doing some good things and playing some good hockey. And for us, we just got to get back to playing that way.
Puck drop is at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. The Blue Jays have a day off today after sweeping their 3-game weekend series against the Seattle Mariners. They will begin another 3-game series tomorrow in Toronto against the Tampa Bay Rays. First pitch will be thrown out at exactly 4:07 p.m. Pacific time. Turning to the hard court, the order for the 2025 NBA draft will be determined in Chicago at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. 14 ping pong balls will bounce around inside a machine and then be drawn one by one. Team executives will learn the fate of their respective franchises about an hour before the rest of the world. The Utah Jazz, Washington Wizards, and Charlotte Hornets all have a 14% chance of picking first. The draft is slated for June 25th at 5 p.m. Pacific time. It will be hosted at the Barclays Center in New York. Cooper Flagg of Duke University is widely expected to go first overall, regardless of who wins the lottery. He was the National Player of the Year this season at just 18 years of age. A defense lawyer representing one of 5 hockey players on trial for sexual assault is suggesting the complainant was the one who took the reins during a sexual encounter with his client. Daniel Brown, who represents Alex Formentone, suggested during cross-examination that the woman led Formentone into the bathroom to have sex after he said he didn't want to in front of the other players in the hotel room. Brown suggested the woman guided Formentone during the encounter and established boundaries that he respected. Formentone and his former World Junior Hockey teammates Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, and Cal Foote have all pleaded not guilty to sexual assault in connection with an encounter that took place at the Delta Hotel in London, Ontario in the early hours of June 19, 2018. The complainant, who has been on the stand via CCTV since May 2nd, previously testified that she met some of the players at a downtown bar and went back to the hotel with McLeod. She and McLeod had sex, an encounter that is not part of the trial, the court has heard. The woman was naked and scared when other men came into the room afterwards, she said. She was drunk and went on, quote, autopilot, engaging in various sexual acts that she believed the men wanted from her, she said. When she tried to leave, they would coax her into coming back, putting an arm around her shoulder, she said. Defense lawyers, meanwhile, suggested she asked McLeod to call his friends into the room so that they could have some, quote, fun, because she wanted a, quote, wild night. The complainant maintained she has no memory of saying those things and that they don't sound like something she would say. This is the second week of the second trial of the 5 former World Junior Hockey players. Those are your sports headlines to 12:15. Thank you for listening. I'm Gabe Liesi.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
FoodLink Society is a food charity located in the Lower Mainland. They collect surplus food from grocery stores and redistribute it to families in need. Their mission is to enhance food security across Metro Vancouver while also eliminating excess food waste. They are the largest food redistribution charity in all of BC.
Volunteers play a crucial role in FoodLink Society's redistribution process. The charity has over 420 volunteers, and that number continues to grow. Brad is a truck driver for the charity. He picks up the surplus food from the grocery stores and transports it to the redistribution centers.
So our route is pretty much planned the same every day. We start in Port Coquitlam, work through Port Moody, come up to Coquitlam, and on when we're finished here, we unload at one of two churches.
FoodLink collects food from grocers that are unsold and close to their expiry date that are ready to be thrown in the trash. This means that they receive a variety of food.
So we get meat and bakery and deli and produce and dairy, and we weigh it and we fill out a form of how much we've taken from each store, load it, and then drive it up to whichever place we're going to unload, and then we unload it there. I'm incredibly respectful of the people who started this organization. Their drive and determination is amazing, and I'm honored to be a part of this and helping out the community the way that we do.
Once the food is dropped off at one of their 25 locations, volunteer food packagers begin unloading the food and separating it into different bins for different families. We were able to speak with a member of one of these families. His name is Puya. Him and his family immigrated here from Iran a little over a year and a half ago. At first, they struggled to adjust to their new life, but luckily, FoodLink Society was willing to lend out a helping hand.
And first is when they came here, we were just like feeling kind of scared, like what do we have to do? And we had so many works to do. But with this program, when I started here, when they like started to give us food, we started to feel better. We didn't quite have the money to pay the rent, but with the foods they give us in this program, we actually were able to pay for it. It's just really heartwarming that they really care about people.
To give back to the society that gave them so much, Puya started volunteering alongside his brother a year ago.
It's okay. I think because it's in the fridge and it's okay.
Right now, this program helping people who actually need these foods that they can like stand on their feet and try to make progress in this country, get a job, and when they start to stand on their feet and they didn't need an local one, they can say goodbye and new people come to get their boxes and their helps, which is incredibly useful. The foods here are actually pretty good. Like even thinking about throwing all these foods in a trash can, it just sounds really wrong. Because they can still be used like eggs, breads, meats, so many good things are here. But because of their program, all the food are done to waste.
Bins of food are given to 4,500 people bi-weekly. The bins contain food varying from meat all the way to desserts, equating to around $100 to $150. Igor Bijlak, the director of FoodLink Society, was also at the redistribution center in Coquitlam helping out the volunteers. The charity started 10 years ago with the help of Bijlak and classmates he met at an English class for new Canadians.
So we took the first opportunity. We saw that the food waste is in a huge scale, and it's like a mountain of the food ending on a landfill. And for us, with our background from our homes and our countries, that was completely unacceptable.
It took FoodLink a long time to get to the point that they are at today.
So just to give you a glimpse, like when we started 10 years ago, they called us garbage people. Now 10 years later, they are calling us food rescue heroes.
Bijlak says that people can now afford other necessities due to their charity's contribution.
The food price is rising every year. And with the rent price, which is also rising every year, it's really become difficult to the families to keep tracking all of that. So what I saw is that people are paying the rent and now they don't have enough money to buy food. And food is essential.
He points out that younger kids feeling hungry often can have a negative impact on their learning and growth during their years of adolescence. This fact has led to the Society's decision to also donate food to local schools.
When the students going hungry in a school, they cannot just track the curriculum, they cannot understand what's happening, and that's the future of Canada, the kids. So that's why we step in and start to providing food for the breakfast and lunch in a school district 44 and 43. And it's great help for the kids, and also big relief for the parents who cannot afford it, because now they have access to nutrition food.
When asked about how we can reduce food waste even more, Bijlak had this to say.
And also, we hope we will change the best before date, because that date doesn't mean anything except the food will be perfect until that date. And also mentality of the buyers when they said food is ugly. I mean, that's not acceptable, to call food ugly or to call food imperfect, because who is perfect? Everyone has something. So, and I think imperfection is actually the most beautiful thing.
FoodLink Society doesn't just have an impact on families in their program, it has a lasting impact on the volunteers, our community, and our environment. The charity does so much to help ensure that communities are nourished and less food hits the landfill. For BCIT's The Crow, I'm Braden Coombs, with co-producers Caleb Templeton and James No.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon. I'm Babak Roshandeli, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow. Here are your 1240 sports headlines. We start with the NHL playoffs and a couple of big games on the schedule tonight. suffered a heartbreaking loss in Game 3 as Vegas scored with 0.4 of a second remaining to win the contest. For the Oilers, still no sign of Calvin Pickard, as it looks unlikely that the netminder will return to the series. The Oilers won 6 games in a row after promoting Pickard to the starting spot for Game 3 of their first-round series against the LA Kings. Stuart Skinner will get the nod as he will play in his second successive playoff game. Puck drop is scheduled for 6:30. The other game tonight sees the Carolina Hurricanes host the Washington Capitals. The Hurricanes are coming off a decisive 4-0 win in Game 3, where goalie Frederik Andersen made 21 saves for the shutout. NHL all-time leading goal scorer Alexander Ovechkin is yet to light the lamp in the series, something that he and his teammates will be desperate to change starting tonight. Puck drop is at 4 p.m. Staying with the playoffs, but moving over to the hardwood now, the defending champion Boston Celtics look to even up their series against the New York Knicks. The Celtics uncharacteristically lost both games at home to start this series and found themselves trailing the Knicks by 2-0. A win tonight would see both teams heading into Game 5 with neither team winning on home court, a rarity in the NBA. Tip-off is at 4:30. The other matchup tonight sees the Minnesota Timberwolves visit the Golden State Warriors. Golden State will likely be without star guard Steph Curry once again as they look to even their series at 2. That game gets underway at 7 p.m. Over to tennis action now in the Italian Open. Canadian Bianca Andreescu has just lost her round of 16 matchup against China's Qinwen Zhang. Andreescu was narrowly defeated in the tiebreak during the first set before losing the second set 6-1. The defeat comes just one day after Andreescu defeated Elena Rybakina in the previous rounds, 6-2 and 6-4. Leylah Fernandez also played yesterday, but was defeated in straight sets to Marta Kostyuk. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka is currently playing a second set against the aforementioned Kostyuk after taking the first set 6-0. On the men's side, title contenders Yannick Sinner, Alex de Minaur, and Casper Ruud are all through to the last 16, which will get underway early tomorrow morning. To the MLB next, as the Toronto Blue Jays are enjoying a deserved day off after completing a 3-game sweep in Seattle. The Jays won all 3 games over the weekend at T-Mobile Park, something they haven't done against the Mariners in over 30 years. The Jays got some overdue support from their hitters and scored 21 runs in the 3 games. They finished the West Coast road trip with a 4-2 record and improved to 500 on the year as they sit on 20 wins and 20 losses. Next up for the Jays is a series against the Tampa Bay Rays, which gets started tomorrow in Toronto. To international ice hockey now, with updates from the World Hockey Championships taking place in Sweden and Denmark. Canada won 7-1 over Latvia yesterday and will be playing France tomorrow. Today's action saw Austria win 3-2 in a shootout against Slovakia, with the U.S. losing to Switzerland 3-0 in a mini shocker. Currently underway, we have Sweden leading Finland by a score of 2-0 and Czechia leading Denmark by the same scoreline. Both games are midway through the second period. Staying on the ice, as history was made in the PWHL last night, the Montreal Victoire won the second game of their series against the Ottawa Charge to tie things up at 1. What made this game so unique was the fact that it went to a 4th overtime period before it was ultimately decided by Catherine Dubois. The players played 2 full games with another 15 minutes on top of that. Hopefully both teams can get enough rest before picking up things for Game 3 tomorrow. Finishing with soccer now and some big news out of Spain, legendary Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti has announced that he will be leaving the club at the end of the season to take over the Brazil national squad. Ancelotti has won nearly everything there is to win at club level and will now try his hand at international football. Bayer Leverkusen Spanish manager Xabi Alonso will take over at Madrid. Those are your sports headlines until 12:45. Tune in again at 3:45 for more. For BCIT's The Crow, I'm Babak Roshandelli.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
It's just been this wonderful journey of learning and experience and just like learning to deal with situations in life that I had no solution to other than taking drugs.
When I first got here, I wasn't very willing, I wasn't very healthy, and I was very resistant.
Luke 15 was one of the only, actually the only place that accepted me from, gosh, there's so many, 20, maybe 20, 30 other recovery houses.
I've been here for, like I said, going on under 2 months, and I already feel that I'm partially on my way to being fully able to be recovered.
I was resigned to the program that they offered, and I found God's will for my life.
I've come to know Jesus. I've come to know God as my Lord and Savior. He has mentored me in some pretty rough times in my life.
My addiction led to the downtown east side eventually, where I was using needles and pretty much dying.
Before I came here, I was like almost dead. Like I was pretty much physically 90% dead, spiritually dead.
Right now we can accommodate 26 men, but we turn down about 10 people a day. And it's really sad because there are people who beg and say, I don't mind even laying in a washroom for the night. And they're so desperate to get a place.
The need is so great. There's so many people struggling with addiction that are homeless, have nowhere to go, don't have the resources, and it's like, and it's really disheartening. You know, we had a guy here this morning who was here before, and unfortunately the place is full. It's so full, and he couldn't find a place, and it was really sad to see him having to be turned away.
I've been in that situation before. I've been turned down. I know what it's like to just be broken and have nothing left. Society really is looking at you in a different light. You're out there, you're homeless.
To me, it's very important that we have the facilities to be able to help these people when they need it. And one of the big challenges is having space when they need it, because sometimes you only have a window of maybe an hour, 2 hours, when the person is in their rational mind to be able to make good decisions.
And I believe that the government should support a house like Luke 15 House, because what we do here is to change one person at a time. Hopefully we can change 10 person at a time every time they come here, so that we can also make a change in the community.
We definitely need to become more recovery based, and you know, a lot of the recovery houses that are not non-profit, they have a limited amount of time that you can be there.
If I had a hope for more expansion, it would be to create something like this program, because I've been to other ones that are pretty shabby considering the comparisons, and the program that I'm in now is put at 100 times better than most programs I've been in.
Don't worry, I got a phone. 130. Stupid question. 133, I can go pray.
I don't think jail is the solution.
I think people who have an addiction, it's a mental illness, they need treatment, they need help.
In jail, it doesn't give you the freedom to really recover and focus on healing yourself. You can't be really vulnerable in jail.
I feel like if you're incarcerated, my experience is there's really very little programming in jail. And you're in an environment where there's a lot of chaos, there's no real structure.
And so I spent 2 months in jail looking for a place, and this one, like, it met all the criteria.
I think we need more supports to like go out there and like talk to these people one-on-one and try and bring them into a recovery house. Because I think for me, the hardest thing was to surrender myself to a recovery house. I had to be arrested to come to recovery, but I think it needs to happen way before that. I think people have to go out there and grab the person and be like, hey, look, your life is worth it.
The stigma around addiction, right, that people have, you know, it doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter where you came from. You can have a rich, silver spoon-fed, you know, background, or you could have, you could come from a broken home. It really doesn't matter.
At least 90% of the men who come here tell me that their problems started when their parents divorced. So I think the breakdown of the traditional family as a unit is one of the leading causes of addiction, because for a child, when their father and mother are not getting along, it's like a world war in their world.
You see the horror that drug and alcohol addiction does to people, how it destroys individuals and destroys lives. And when you can see the positive turnaround that happens, that's what gets people to open the wallet. That's what gets the real effect in community. And that's what I love. That's what touches me. And I know that's what touches community, so that in fact we see more solutions instead of just writing them off as, those are just the street people. Those are just guys that, you know, they're down on their luck. They're this, that, or the other thing.
There just aren't enough resources. So we are going to start another house. I think you're reading about Langley, the property in Langley, that didn't work out because we couldn't change the bylaw. It was an agricultural land. But we found another property in Delta, and hopefully very soon we will be able to start a second house. With all the programming that we've done, I think the guys coming back to a relationship with God has been the most valuable in recovery. We have not had a relapse since December, which is incredible.
In the individuals at Luke 15 and my encounters with those individuals, you see huge change, you see huge development, you see huge progress, and that's what it's all about. Is you have to look at it on the individual basis and see the individuals change.
These people come from North Fraser pre-trial. We went on a visit there, and each unit has 60 inmates, and there are 24 guards working round the clock, 24/7, and they always have lockdowns every day because of fights and, you know, violence and aggression. The same men come here. We don't have security cameras. We don't have security. We don't have anything. And there's relative peace. We never have fights.
The people here that work here are very helpful, and they've been very creative in the way of how they deal with us. And I feel that it's of necessary notification to add that they have been so helpful to my recovery.
So just to know that there's something other than that life that you're living, just to be able to see that, that's a huge step in recovery and being able to change your life.
the spiritual remedy is basically the only real remedy, I believe anyways. I've tried everything, man. I've been around, I've been around for a minute, and I can't say enough about this place. Like, it's just everything I need.
But I just came here to get sober, and I've been blessed with so many more gifts, right? Stuff that I would never ever let go of. There's no way. Like, I can't even imagine going backwards.
We should have more places like this. I don't think it should be so hard to go and get like licensing and go through all the hoops and stuff like that just to get a recovery house going, because this honestly saved my life, and I think it could save a lot of others.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika